I went from liking Angel Reese a little bit to now I don't like Angel Reese. I'm back to like she's just bad news, and she's fallen right in line with the rest of the WNBA. She's just an angry feminist. They may get her all the way on board. She may marry Brittany Griner at some point.
Might as well.
Who knows? But
Jason Whitlock reacts to Angel Reese sitting out of the WNBA. Check out what he had to say, and then I'll come back with my comments.
I'm going to start here. Angel Reese wants credit. She's not getting enough credit. She did this too. She taunted Caitlin Clark. She made this whole thing. The reason why WNBA is up is because of Angel Reese. Is Angel Reese getting enough credit, Steve?
You know, I saw where she said yesterday, the lovely Angel Reese said, well, it's not just one person. I had something to do with it too. You know, it reminds me of this certain date that'll live in the hearts of many Lakers fans to the day we die. January 22nd, 2006, Jason. That date may not mean much to you, but us people in LA will always remember that Sunday night as the game that Kobe Bean Bryant exploded against the Toronto Raptors. Okay? And it would almost be like, on that particular night, in retrospect, if Sasha Vujacic would have a press conference and say, you know what, that was a great comeback. Me and Kobe combined for 84 points that game. Yeah, we led that comeback because Kobe and I, without our 84,
Good analogy.
We probably don't win. Now, never mind that it was Bean with 81 and Vujacic was only 3. So again, it's factual, but there has to be some context layered within those facts.
Now, if the WNBA wants to get paid more, they got to bring more viewership. No one wants to see Angel Reese get 20 rebounds, missing layups. That's not going to cut it. People want to see players like Caitlin Clark. When Caitlin Clark was flourishing, you had players in the WNBA that were hating. They got charter flights because of her. More viewership, more sold-out games when the Fever was playing those teams. So say what you want to say about Caitlin Clark haters, but she helped boost the WNBA. And if there's going to be huge money given out, it got to go through Caitlin Clark first. Maybe Asia Wilson, a couple other players, but Caitlin Clark is really pushing the WNBA forward, and Angel Reese been a hater.
Yeah, I agree with you. I went from liking Angel Reese a little bit to now I don't like Angel Reese. I'm back to like she's just bad news, and you know she's fallen right in line with the rest of the WNBA. She's just an angry feminist, and you know they may get her all the way on board. She may marry Brittany Griner at some point.
Might as well.
Who knows? But I find Angel Reese completely unlikable, and I'm telling you, I was at about 20%. Like, hey, I kind of like Angel Reese, and I'm moved past the taunting thing, but now I haven't.
I like her on social media. You know, she's doing her thing. Now, if she's going to strike her social media presence, that may be one thing. But if she's going to say, I'm sitting out WNBA games, all right, you know, go ahead. It was nice knowing you, but the WNBA will be okay. It's not like their viewership's going to decline without Angel Reese. Now, if Caitlin Clark's saying, you know what, I'm going to strike, I'm going to sit out, then you're going somewhere. You got something. But Angel Reese, ain't nobody going to miss her like that.
Jason, I saw a graphic on Twitter, and again, I don't take everything on Twitter as gospel, but someone showed her stat line, and isn't she shooting like 35% from the field? Now, look, I don't think much of the WNBA skill level. I really don't. I still think it's largely unwatchable. Can somebody tell me who in the world watches a 35% shooter from the paint that is basically grabbing her own rebounds from her own missed shots? This whole notion that somehow Angel Reese is driving ticket sales, you know, she might to a certain degree. But I saw another statistic that was put up in terms of the attendance throughout the weekend of every other game that did not have a certain quote-unquote white beat from Iowa compared to every other game. There's a stark difference. And so, again, is there a league? Yes. Are there other players involved? Yes. But we have to be completely honest about this, whether we like it or not. 90% of this revived or renewed interest is really based around one singular player.
And that player is Caitlin Clark. Again, she has to lead the charge. It can't be players like Angel Reese, a couple other players that's really not doing anything but think they have a voice. The only main voice you got in the WNBA right now is Caitlin Clark. Again, on social media, Reese, she do her thing, she put out her content. Now, if she's going to step away from social media, then okay, maybe there could be a little uproar there. But if you're talking about you not going to want to play in the WNBA because of a low salary, well, you got to increase the product, increase the viewership. What you do on social media is not transferring over to WNBA viewership. You may be getting a lot of views on Instagram and places like that, but what's happening with the WNBA? It's not moving forward. So Caitlin Clark, if you want to help push the league forward, then maybe you may want to talk about a strike. But coming from Angel Reese, that's the wrong messenger.
It's certainly based around one singular player. And I get it. I can't believe they're speaking this stuff out loud, but I think they're speaking the stuff out loud. There's no accountability for Black female feminists. They can say anything, and if you criticize it, you're racist. Period. End of story.
Jason, what's interesting is from the mainstream media, there is none. There's no doubt about it. Now, I want to make this point. The whole industry of the WNBA, which count as the players, the coaches, the media members, the journalists, the broadcasters, and certain observers / superfans, they truly are the most unlikable lot of any sport by far. I could see why they repel people from peeking inside the curtain and being fans. I'm being dead serious. It goes far beyond just Monica McNutt, and we can get into that later.
Yeah, and again, no one really cares about the WNBA as a whole. It's just one person. When people like Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp, they talk about Caitlin Clark, then you got other people saying, well, what about the other players? Shout out to the other players, but what's really driving viewership? That's what we're seeing in the NBA right now with LeBron and the Lakers coverage and Charles Barkley calling out ESPN. But we know what's going on with mainstream media. They got to cover what's actually going to hit. Talking about Caitlin Clark over everybody else, that's what's going to get views. But you got a lot of haters in the WNBA, and people that cover the WNBA, they want to talk about everybody instead of focusing on Caitlin Clark.
Steve, I want to share with you, I think, didn't Kennedy Carter put out some statement maybe through the WNBA? I thought it's not an apology, but I want to read her tweet or something. I think it's a tweet she had, and just get your reaction to Kennedy Carter. I don't really, it's not surprising what she did given her reputation. It's right on brand for her. She's basically Dylan Brooks Draymond Green, typical WNBA player, rougher than, and she's been booted off or released by a couple of different teams. But here's her tweet, and this is the problem with the WNBA. I just don't want to see this. I don't want to support people who talk this way, think this way, particularly when they're women. We grown as F, and y'all talking about enforcer. Man, get the F out of here. Hoop or shut up. It's Steve. I just don't want to see. I don't want to support women who talk and think this way. Call me sexist, but I guess that I am.
Old Kennedy. Yeah, I said Kennedy. She didn't want to answer the question, though, at the press conference, but she puts that out. I'm going to say something that's going to surprise you, though.
Yeah, she's supposed to be this enforcer, this Dylan Brooks replica, but she was the one that was trying to take out Caitlin Clark. I know you got to be competitive. That's great, but you can't mess up the golden egg, the golden goose. You got to make sure that, yeah, be competitive, play hard, but don't intentionally try to injure the greatest WNBA player ever, Caitlin Clark.
I think next year, the Indiana Fever, they need to get their version of Kennedy. They need someone that's going to be the Charles Oakley to the Jordan that is Caitlin Clark. It's done in other sports. It's been done in basketball. I think the Indiana Fever have a very, very interesting offseason ahead of them because they have to gauge the temperature of what is going on and how valuable Caitlin Clark is. And then I would get a whole new coaching staff and a system that fits one player, Caitlin Clark, and then everyone else. You better be able to protect her and to complement her game. And if you're not willing to do that, you're out of here. But yeah, I'll say it. They need to get a couple of Kennedy Clarks, Carters in that room because quite frankly, I'm going to say this to Jason. I think that the non-protection or the behavior of her teammates, Jason, has actually been worse than the opponents. I expect opponents to act like that. But you are really seeing the pettiness and the jealousy of females. And what's that old line? Females are more jealous and petty with each other in the workplace or socially than any men. I think that is being borne out with the way the Indiana Fever are treating their most precious, valuable commodity.
Yeah, the Fever definitely need more Kennedy Carters. That'd be great. Now, if you want to be that way when you're on the same team as Caitlin, that's one thing. But if you want to be a little bit extra when you're playing her, that's what people got an issue with. So the Fever, they definitely have to build out this roster so they're able to compete, get stronger, get people like a Kennedy Carter that's going to, go off on people. Charles Oakley, just like all those other enforcers that was around Jordan, Kobe. You got to have players like that that's going to keep that same energy with the opposition.
No one has her back, and here's how I know here's what my suspicion is. The reason why the Chicago Sky got rough with her is because, and why the rest of the league is getting rough with her, and why there was no reaction. Aaliyah Boston just walked over like nothing had happened and helped Caitlin Clark up.
Yeah.
She didn't even look at the person that hit her. And again, I'm not accusing Aaliyah Boston of this, but there are at least 1 or 2 or 3 players on that Indiana Fever team who's communicating with other players around the league and putting the word out. They're like, yeah, we need to rough this chick up.
Yeah, so the Fever definitely got to increase their roster, get better, get more defenders out there, get people that's going to help out Caitlin Clark. Because you got a lot of people that's hating on her, including Angel Reese, the Chicago Sky, other teams, the other chick that almost poked her eye out. So the Fever got some work to do. You don't want your main player, the WNBA savior, to get injured or roughed up out there. And she don't have the right teammates to have her back like that. But just as far as Angel Reese sitting out or strikes, that has to go through Caitlin Clark. She's the main player of the WNBA. They're going to move forward with Caitlin Clark quicker than they're going to move forward with Angel Reese. So maybe Angel Reese needs to reach out to Caitlin Clark and try to get on the same page with her. One minute she acts like she respects her, but then she throwing shots at her on social media. So if they're on the same page, then maybe you got something with Angel Reese in the strike. But if it's on Angel Reese and she's leading the charge without Caitlin Clark, this sit out isn't going to go anywhere. And WNBA players, they're not going to get paid.